All right, the newest version of Mommy Vanessa is in Black Clover Mobile on the global side of the game, and we're going to be talking about how to build her. I love the character design sometimes in this game. It looks really, really nice. Like, they've done a really good job. I feel like Black Clover Mobile sometimes is underrated, but maybe I'm just simping a little bit hard for Vanessa, but absolutely amazing character, a pretty decent unit as well to boot. So today we're going to talk about how you guys should build her, what skills you want to upgrade first, what skill pages you want to run on her, what gear you want to run for maximizing her overall potential in PvP and PvE, whether or not you should enhance her or chase dupes for her, what talents you want to run on her talent tree, and then last but not least, what teams is she going to fit well on for both PvP and PvE. So hopping right into it, let's talk about her unique passive. You get this passive just for getting her to LR status. At the start of a battle, if the mages on the ally side are of different attributes, inflicts total silence on all enemies for 1 turn. That total silence is freaking insane in my opinion. That is very, very good because that means they can't use their special or their skill 2 with total silence. So like, that right there already makes her an insane addition to any team in my opinion. So if you guys can get this character, I do highly recommend, because even getting her at like base level, she is pretty dang good. And then her skill 1 is called Thread Tightening, inflicts an SP -3 debuff on an enemy. You can subtract SP from an enemy every single turn if you wanted to. That is insane. Her skill 2 is called Agent Bag. It is a single target attack that inflicts silence on an enemy for 2 turns. Now, if you have the skill page for her, the skill gets so much better, like infinitely better. We'll talk about that when we get the skill pages. And then for her special skill, another single target attack called Red Thread's Fate, it inflicts a mobility depletion debuff on an enemy. That will set all mobility to 0 and reduces their attack speed. That's freaking ridiculous, okay? And then inflicts a disarm level 5 debuff on an enemy for 2 turns, meaning they have 42% less damage dealt, and grants self-protection for 1 turn, meaning she can't be selected as a target. All of that is so good. And then her combo skill inflicts a 30% reduced mobility debuff on an enemy as well. That's okay. I wouldn't say it's like super crazy, but like it's honestly fairly decent. Now, in terms of upgrade priority, honestly, it doesn't really matter because upgrading these skills just gives you more damage, right? So if you want my honest opinion, you're going to be using skill 1, I feel like, as much as possible. Probably upgrade skill 1 first because you're going to want to maximize the damage on that because you're going to be using that the most, because skill 2 has a longer cooldown and her special skill has a longer cooldown, right? So you're not going to be able to use them as much. So I would honestly probably almost go skill 1, skill 2, special skill in terms of upgrade priority, just because that's how often you're going to be using them. Now, if it gave you an additional effect of like SP -4 or something, like that might change the upgrade priority, but because they all just increase the amount of damage, honestly, just upgrade skill 1 first, then skill 2, then your special skill for her overall. But like, in my opinion, a very, very insane character, a really, really good debuffer. Now, in terms of skill pages, what do you want to run on her? You could run any of these general like skill pages as fillers. I would recommend probably this one over any of the others because Moonlight Necklace is going to give you extra defense, extra survivability. Another option could definitely be this one. Adventurer's Journal gives her extra max HP. Max HP might be a little bit better nowadays with like how much people can just ignore defense and hurt you. So extra HP might be a little bit better, especially if you go for like an HP build on her. I think that is a actually really good skill page to equip on this Vanessa potentially, but bar none, the best skill page to put on this character, and Pridewind actually doesn't have this skill page, at least at the time of recording this when I looked it up, so I got to go to the summon menu to pull it up, but is her skill page. Her skill page is very, very good. So skill 2 inflicts a 60% reduced mobility debuff on an enemy if you have her skill page. Otherwise, you just get the silence, right? So I think that right there is very, very good. And in that case, you might want to upgrade skill 2 first because you're going to be using that as much as possible because that reduced mobility is insanely good, right? But if you don't have her skill page, it's still skill 1 first that you want to upgrade. And then the passive for this, upon reaching 30 battle turns without dying, inflicts 50% reduced defense on all enemies for 2 turns. Now, when you couple this passive with her enhanced LR passive that you get from getting her to 2 dupes and then also to 5 dupes, she becomes insanely good if you are able to reach that 30 battle turns. And now 30 turns sounds like a lot. I know that gets confusing to people, but battle turns are like a turn for each character. So you have 4 characters on your team, right? Each time they have a turn, that counts as a battle turn. So you have 4 battle turns as soon as your 4 characters have gone once, right? And then the enemy's turns also count as battle turns. So once you and the enemy team have done a full rotation of at least 1 turn, you've already gone through 8 battle turns, right? So 30 battle turns actually comes faster than you would think. So this skill page is by far the best possible skill page you can equip on her. Now let's talk about gear. So there's 2 different ways, in my opinion, that you can build this character. She is a debuffer, so you're not building her for attack or anything like that. What you are going to be building this character for is either defense or HP. You can go for either one. Both of them will work fairly about the same, right? Just depending on what you're going for. But the idea is give your debuffer more survivability. That's plain and simple, right? So for the main stats here, I went for HP for these 4, and then for this other 3 smaller pieces, you are going to go for the main stat of magic attack because she has a higher magic attack than she does an attack stat, right? So that's why you'll go for that main stat. Now, in terms of substats, if you are going for the HP build, I would go for HP percentage if you can get it. That's going to be helpful as always. Obviously, my substats are not the best. I do need to re-roll them and actually go for the things I need on this character. But I would go for HP percentage. Damage resist percentage is always good, or not percentage because damage resist doesn't have a percentage, but damage resist in general is good because it will give you extra survivability. Even defense percentage is good. So like HP percentage, defense percentage, and damage resist, I would feel like are going to be top substats that you want to run on this character. Now, if you're doing the defense build where you have 4 large defense pieces here instead of the 4 HP pieces that you see here, you might actually still want to go for some HP percentage on top of the defense just to give her a little bit more survivability, because if people ignore your defense or hit you with crits and stuff like that, I feel like it's not as good as it used to be, right? Like defense is slowly, like it's good, but I don't know. HP I feel like is just a little bit better in my opinion. But let me know your guys' thoughts down in the comments. Once again, you can build her either way. Now, in terms of sets, you are going to want to go for these sets. You're going to go for the defense gold set, the HP set, and the gold mobility set. I do like these sets quite a bit. You can switch out some of these sets if you wanted to. You could switch out like the defense set if you're building the HP version. You could switch it out for a speed set if you're trying to give her more speed, because her speed is okay, but it's not the highest. So if you want her to have a little bit more speed to be able to go first in PvP battles and whatnot, you could go for an advanced speed set like this one right here, along with the mobility set, and then that would give you a little bit of extra speed. But, you know, just go for what you want to go for. But in general, this is probably how I would build this Vanessa gear-wise. Now, in terms of enhancement, is she worth enhancing? So, getting her to 2 dupes, upon reaching 30 battle turns without dying, inflicts SP -8 on all enemies. That is pretty dang good, because that just gets rid of any supers they might have had. All right, but then it gets even better. If you get her to 5, you get increased speed at 4, right? So that's an extra 2 speed. That gives you the advantage over other Vanessas who aren't that duped out. And it also gives you advantage over other debuffers and supporters in the game too, if you have built her for speed. And then at 5 dupes, you get the additional effect of, upon reaching 30 battle turns without dying, inflicts 80% increased damage taken on all enemies for 2 turns. So if you have her skill page plus this enhanced passive, at that point in the battle, it's over. Like, you can just destroy the enemy team. Now, it does take you getting to that point without dying, which is a bit rough sometimes, but still, I think this Vanessa is insanely good. Like, she gives you the win condition when you get to that point in the battle if you have her fully duped out and if you have her skill page. So, should you dupe her out? I almost would recommend it if you can, but if you're a free-to-play player, like, obviously do not chase 5 dupes. You're not going to get it. You're going to ruin your economy. You're not going to be able to get the stuff later, right? But if you're a light spender who can maybe swing to get a couple of copies, maybe you have some versatile mage skill pieces here that you can use. Maybe you just need 3 copies like myself. It might be worth it to pull and get a few more copies of her, because having her at max dupe, I feel like, is going to be a very big difference from not having her at max dupe. It's actually really, really good. So that's kind of my thoughts on that. And then in terms of talents, I would go for the attack talent tree. It doesn't really matter, I'll be honest, but like, I would go for Battle Frenzy, increase crit rate, and go for attack plus 7% or something like that. You know, you could also go magic attack if you want. You could go, actually, I would even go, honestly, I would probably just go I would actually realistically probably do this. I'd probably do crit damage and damage dealt. It doesn't matter for the attack tree. You can go literally for whatever you want, but crit damage and damage dealt feel like they would be decent on her. And then defense plus 20%, and stacking defense and crit resist. That's always good for her. You could also potentially go for debuff immunity when her HP drops below a certain amount. That way she can still do the things she needs to do. That is an option, so you could go something like this if you wanted to, but I feel like this is always a decent option. And then last but not least, for her support tree, I would go damage resist and reduce skill 2 cooldown, especially if you have her skill page, because that's going to help you out a lot. These are probably the best 2 things that you can get. For her special, I mean, you could run this, but I feel like the reduced skill 2 cooldown is still just better, especially if you have her skill page. Like, it's really, really good. And last but not least, let's talk about the teams that she can fit on. Okay, so here is an example of a team that Vanessa can fit on. Feels very similar to what I showed for Zora, but Valkyrie, Noelle, and Charlotte are just so prevalent, right? They're so good. So this last slot here with Yuno can be switched out for virtually any attacker you want. Like, literally almost any attacker in the game that you want. Yuno is just a really good option. If you have like Julius up to 125, you could put Julius on this team. You could even try like Green Yami if you wanted. You could put him on here if you have him duped out. You could do so many different things. You could do this Red Asta now that 125 is a thing. Like, you could run pretty much any attacker you want right here and try it out and see how it works. Like, that's how versatile this Vanessa is with this team. That's how many different like attackers you can run, right? So just keep that in mind. Another option, if you lack like Valkyrie, Noelle, there are other options, okay? So another option would be something like this, where you could run Meryl Leona, and you could run Black Asta, and you could run the new Gray. It's a good chance to run the new Gray, so I feel like this is a fun team that people could use as well, and it would work out pretty well because you have Vanessa doing all her debuffing and stuff that she does, and that's going to allow the dots and stuff to just proc, and it's going to be a hard team to kill for people, so it's just a really good option as well. But those are kind of the team recommendations for Vanessa. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments, and if you guys enjoyed the build guide, please consider going down there, hitting that like button, and hitting that subscribe button. Thank you guys so much for watching. Peace.